As kids, we used to play on these tips. We never saw any danger.
None of them are safe, none of them. What they don't realise is underneath that green is slurry. It's coal.
It has become more of an issue. They are a risk. Now, I'm not a scientist, but they're not safe. There is a need for significant investment to make them safe.
My name is Anne Davis. I live in Brynhilod Terrace, Tylerstown. And I'm concerned about the landslide and the coal tips in this area. Who's that? That's my mum and that's my gran. That's my dad. There's the two brothers.
What was Tylerstown like in its sort of heyday?
I mean, there were shops everywhere. I mean, you'd have little shops inside the front rooms. There was a shop there. What did I see all yourself? There was a shop there. There was a shop in the front of the house there. Over there used to be Vanu's, which used to have like a sweet shop and everything in the front room there. There used to be a fish and chip shop, Mr. Jenkins. Used to come home from the welfare after watching a film and then enjoy our fish and chips. You know, we got on with things. We didn't have much, but we got on with things. And I mean, there was only one car in the street. Where I spent most of my time was up on the mountain on a piece of cardboard sliding down. When I used to come home from school, I used to climb on the sides by Edmund Street and along there. I mean, nobody else knew about it except for me. I mean, they looked black. And there was always two up there at the time that I can remember. And there was always a point to them.
Well, my name is Phil Howe. I'm from Ferndale, just across the way there. When we were kids, we used to come up here and it was called Mother's Nature or Three Ponds, because there were three ponds there. And we used to swim in there, you know. So it could have been really dangerous if children had still been, say, messing about near those pools and with people using what we call the incline, going up there, walkers and everything else, then it could have been extremely dangerous. I think something like 75,000 tons came down from here. But as kids, we used to play on these tips. We never saw any danger and we had great fun on them, you know. With tips where I lived, not as big as that, we'd come down on, you know, zincs, slide down, we'd go completely black. But we had great fun doing it. Parents didn't seem to mind, you know. So this, I think, when the tip slide came, was quite a shock, I would have thought, to everyone, certainly residents. Looking at the path coming down here now, that's all I can see is black. So we could actually be still standing on a coal tip. I don't know, but of course, it's overgrown now, isn't it? And you wouldn't tell from parts of it like that over there that it is coal. So we could well be standing on a coal tip now. So if I disappear, you know I'm on a coal tip.
You take a look after yourself anyway. Don't I? I've lived with them all my life. I mean, I've accepted them. I mean, they were like dark satanic tips to me in the beginning. I mean, with the colonies being around and everything, it was a hive of industry, the coal industry, but there was also a thriving little village with all the shops that were going on. But I mean, as the time has gone on, with the mining going, there's nothing been to replace it.
Just for Di Horse, he used to be in the shaft. I remember before Di went to work there, and it was in the early 60s, and him and his wife went to Scotland for holidays. Nobody, Puthcall was a limit then, but Di and his wife went to Scotland, not on the bus. And when they came back, I said, what was it like, Di? He said it was fantastic. The food in this hotel, entertainment, good beer, fantastic. And when the boy said, when I was there, Di, did you see Ben Nevis? He said, seen him. I'm bloody talking to him. Costs a lot of money. Lovely, innit? This used to be the railway station. The railway track was along here where we are now. where over 100 years, millions of tons of coal have travelled down on their way to different parts of the world, through Cardiff docks or through different parts of this country. Must be over 1 million tonne of coal taken from underneath our feet. Amazing. My name is Roy Jones. I'm an ex-miner and also the chairman of the Miners' Memorial here in Mardy. The camaraderie that was there between the boys, between us all, was outstanding. They got the same feeling on the battlefronts in the Second World War and what have you. The conditions were very bad, appalling in places, but we didn't know this until after the pit shut, and we worked at other places. This is the Miners' Memorial in memory of not only the miners that worked in Mardy and were killed, but also to the community of Mardy. What we've got there, these old photos. Kids waiting for their father to come home from the pit, because a lot didn't come home.
Oh my God, that's bad.
Where we were lucky here, of course, is because there was nothing below the tip, so everyone was safe. That was reassuring to know that. But yeah, I mean, there could have been houses down there, who knows. Well, I think the first thing everyone thought of was certainly Aberfan, 1966. And I've spoken to a few people who actually went to the site in 1960. It just stands out in your mind on that.
I don't know, I can't put it into words. That day and that night was awful.
Were you there?
Yeah. I was there a couple of hours after. It was total chaos in the night. Everybody was out of control. Women digging with their bare hands, crying, screaming. And the police couldn't do nothing with nobody. Nothing at all. Some of the police were out of control. And outside the chapel, and scenes you can't describe. Things, terrible scenes. In the 70s, they discovered post-traumatic stress. Well, they give it a name in the 70s, post-traumatic stress. And me, through different things, I'd suffered from it and didn't know. And our Friday night in Aberfan, a lot of people struggled for years after to come to terms with things and sights, smells, sounds that we seen that night, innit? Awful.
What was it like? Did it make you feel more anxious about the other tips?
No, it reminded me of Aberfan. The speed it was moving as well, and everything in front of it covered. That's what it reminded me of.
Do you reckon it's going to happen again if the council don't do anything?
Well, the one in Watchtown is moving now. They've been there recently, trying to stabilise it. So, I don't know. It will happen. Ever like Aberfan, I don't.
I will never forget Aberfan. I mean, I know I was a teenager then, and I obviously wasn't within the area, but I mean, I was in a school, and you were thinking that it was half term then, and I mean, it was so similar to what our little valley is, the same. And I mean, it has a resonance. It will never, I don't think it'll ever leave me. I mean, I looked over towards our two tips that were opposite, and I thought, well, I mean, it could happen here.
Everybody in the valleys is very familiar with what happened. It was a horrific incident. I mean, There was a tip behind the school. There was a landslide. It happened early in the morning. The children were in school with their teachers. There was absolutely no warning. And it collapsed onto the school. Killed, I think, 118 children. It was absolutely horrendous. It is a history that lives with us in the South Wales Valleys. My name is Beth Winter and I'm the Member of Parliament for Cynon Valley, which is a constituency based in South Wales in the Valleys. I grew up in the Cynon Valley in Aberdeen, not far from here actually, about a 2-minute walk from where we are in the office, constituency office today. We've got a history of industry in the valleys, both coal, steel and nearby ironworks. We actually learned quite a bit about them in school, about the history of the mines and then the tips that have emanated as a legacy of them, really. I think for us, though, because they've always been part of the landscape since I was very young, they're part of the community. With the climate crisis that is facing us, it has become more of an issue. They are a risk.
It's been very depressing. Looking over it and you think, well, it's not going to get any better. I mean, I say they've done things that they're saying about they're going to move it up to the behind the other. Well, I mean, that's doing exactly what was there before in my childhood. If they're going to make another one up behind it. And that's going to, in a way, worry people like the farmland or Sannytown then. You know, it's pushing the back a little bit, isn't it? I mean, all of them are dangerous. They're not safe. None of them are safe. They've been there all that time, and I think, I mean, with the climate change and everything, I think it's gonna get worse.
We can stick plasters on these problems as much as we like, but unless there is fundamental change in the way that we live, then the likelihood is that these events may well happen in the future again.
Well, of course, things got so bad in the late 60s, the money wasn't very good in the pit. And there was a factory over in Pontypool called Burton's Biscuits. And boys were finishing in the pit and going to work in Burton. They earned more money in a biscuit factory. Yeah. It was this bloke, a hell boy. Di Gilbert, we called him, but I think his last name was Richards, lived over in Tonrevel. He said, I'm finishing, he said, Friday first. I said, where are you going in? Burton Biscuit, he said. Earn money over there. So I said, what about your tools? What do you want then? I said, I'll have your hatchet. Someone else had his shovel, because you had to buy your tools, until 1972. I said, I'll have your hatchet. You know. Tuesday morning, he was back on top of the pit. I said, what's the matter? One day he worked there. He said, I couldn't stand it. He said, I had to finish. So we give him a nickname now, and he got that nickname today. Digestive, they call him. He said, one bastard day I worked in that place, he said, I got this horrible nickname, and I can't get into it.